The FDA has banned red dye number 3 from foods and beverages. However, it's been banned from cosmetics for many, many years. Now, there actually hasn't been any research done on red dye number 3 in humans. But of course, there could be some concerns. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. I'm a board-certified pediatrician down in Tampa, Florida, where I focus on healthy living and really try to focus on making healthy kids. But of course, that also means making healthy adults. So today we're going to be talking about this red dye number 3 ban that the FDA has recently announced. And I'm glad to hear about it. But we're going to be discussing what the concerns are and also what is unknown, because there's a lot not known about all of this. And of course, what do we need to do going forward? That's a certainly good question that many people are asking right now. Now, in terms of what it is, so it's an artificial food coloring. So of course, that means it has no nutritional value whatsoever. And really, it's just something that catches the eye, especially of vulnerable people, kids who may see something like a flashing red light. It's going to grab their attention and potentially draw them to it and want them to consume it. Now, this concern, though, about red dye, it actually goes back to 1990. So there is a thing that the FDA says that any food, that any toxin that's been found to cause cancer, any substance that's been found to cause cancer in any animal has to be banned from food, from beverage, from consumption. And back in 1990, that's what they did. And it was removed from anything that could go onto the skin. But yet, here we go 35 years later, and they're just getting around to it, despite the fact that the law says it should have been done a long, long time ago. Now, this slow FDA action, and of course, it's a concern. But the question now becomes, what happens going forward with it? Because the FDA also did give the manufacturers a couple of years to be in compliance. It does not need to take that long. In fact, in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, this food coloring has been banned for a long time. And the companies already have new recipes that they're using in those countries in order to make the product. So it's already there. There's not a lot of testing that needs to be figured out there. So hopefully there will be companies that are using these that will either because they ethically think it's the right thing to do, or because now that people are hearing about this and they're consulting lists, they're seeing it on labels, will people actually stop buying it, whether it's an intentional or not intentional boycott? And will these companies feel it in their bottom line, which will make them change their course as well? One would certainly hope to do so. We've certainly seen that many times when it comes to healthier or unhealthier items found in food, and companies thankfully are complying, but just not fast enough. They're not making the changes as fast as we need it. We also have to recognize that do we need to be protecting vulnerable populations, people who can't detoxify properly, in particular children who do not have detoxification abilities fully up to speed, and also pregnant women whose fetuses could be exposed, because of course we don't necessarily know what that even could be doing to a developing fetus. Now, I mentioned before in terms of red dye number 3, and the question has certainly come up, is this harmful for kids? Is this harmful during pregnancy? The reality is we have no idea. There has never been a human study done on red dye number 3 and its potential harm. So again, this is all based upon a rodent study. And I think that is important to take in mind because, first of all, the rodents in that study from like back in the 80s that led to this in 1990 being out of cosmetics, they were eating it and they were consuming a lot of it, and realistically in amounts far and above that a human, even if a child was consuming this on a daily basis, it wasn't the type of amount per body weight that these rats were being given. So it may actually not be carcinogenic in humans at all at the doses or the exposure that a child or an adult will be getting. So I do want to kind of temper with that. But again, do we have to have artificial anything in our food supply? And you've heard me argue about that's probably not such a good idea. But, but most importantly, shouldn't we have precaution? Shouldn't we be cautious? Shouldn't we take everything we know that if it's a problem and if there's a way around it, why not just not expose ourselves to it? Seems like a reasonable thing to do is because it's there. We know how to do that. Now, a lot of people are also asking, where is red dye number 3 found? Okay, so first of all, check your labels. It'll say red dye number 3 on it. It may also say erythrocene. That's ERYTHROSINE, erythrocene. That is what it's named as. And if it says it on a label, you know it's there. They're going to have to put it out there. I'm sure if you've looked at labels with other artificial colorings, it says which red dye, yellow dye, it's in there. It's not going to be in baby food, whether it's jarred food or pouches. If it's not going to be in veggies, it's not going to be in fruits, it's not going to be in meats, it's not going to be in grains specifically made for babies. Now, I've certainly shared at this channel my concerns about baby foods and what's being found in a lot of the glass jars of baby foods in terms of heavy metals, in terms of the pouches and plastics. So not to say that those other items are necessarily the perfect. What is perfect? Making our own baby food, using organic vegetables to decrease the amount of pesticides, keeping it local. That would be keeping it really local. But at least then you know what is exactly going into your kid. Now, however, even though it's not in the baby's exposure, older babies, once they start eating solid foods, toddlers, that's where the exposure can happen. It's in snack foods. It's in certain types of chips. Certainly, it can be in certain types of children attracting cereals and other types of processed foods. So again, you can look at it, but that's where you're going to really start to see this becoming more present. Okay. Now, I have also put down below a nice article from the AP that goes into more details about the specific of foods if you want to be able to start to look up different types of products that have it in there. So that'll be down in the description. Now, another fair question that's been coming up: should pregnant people avoid red dye number 3? And again, we don't know in terms of research, but again, I'm arguing we should be avoiding red dyes. We should be avoiding yellow dyes. Why have to put any dyes into our body whatsoever, into our children, into our developing fetuses? So again, what do? We choose the foods that are minimized with process, that are minimally processed, especially avoiding those that are ultra processed. Almost all a lot of ultra processed foods have artificial colorings. That's one of the things that makes it ultra processed. Now, it's not just red dye number 3. And in fact, about a year ago, I did a similar article, a video on red dye number 40 and bowel issues that were being seen from that dye. And I put the link for that down in the show description. In addition, I recently put out a video about alternative foods, about alternatives to ultra-processed foods that could be that are child-friendly still, people-friendly still, but avoids the potential concerns about the ultra-processed foods. So again, this is a much more global issue about eating healthy, whole foods and doing the best that we can. Now, what about if you have a red dye number 3 in your house already? Do you need to get rid of it? Well, first of all, if a child's been exposed to this for a long time, I don't know that an extra bag's going to make a difference for the big picture. And I realize that from a budgetary perspective, there are families who may buy different products, snack foods in bulk. So do I think that, especially if that would have a significant impact on a budget, to throw it all away? I don't, could you finish off the bag and then move on and buy something healthier after that? I think that that's pretty reasonable, and just gradually move in. Any step that we can make, whether it's relative to foods, whether it's exposed to plastics, forever chemicals, any of this stuff is still a move for the better. Can we all be perfect about this? In fact, very few people are. I know a couple. I'm not. I know that for sure. But we all have choices. Now, so what do? Be conscious. Best thing you can do, and be informed. Okay. Now, of course, if you do have any comments, please share down in the questions below. I love to see comments. I love to see people sharing what their thoughts are. And of course, if you're not subscribed, please share. Please do so for this video, for my channel. I'm going to keep on putting videos out like this, talk about the healthiest lives that we can have, as long as it's a problem, which means I'm assuming for the rest of my career. But share this with other people too. You probably know people who would benefit from this channel and this particular story. So now you know more. Have a good day.